There's this thing that goes around social media every so often, and it says recovering people pleasers like to say they're entering their villain era, and it's just them setting reasonable, healthy boundaries with people and not apologizing for it. Which is kind of true. But there's also the aspect of people who say they're in their villain era because they have been villainized by their abusers or by people who would be their abusers and are not allowed to be. And I want to talk today about that feeling that you're a bad person because you're no longer accepting a abusive person, a narcissistic person's definition of who you are or who you should be. So, one of the things that I find really interesting looking back on my upbringing was that I was raised with this idea that other people's opinions don't matter. You shouldn't care what other people think of you. You should care about doing the right thing. But at the same time, this very intense need to have my parents' approval for survival, that their opinion of whatever I was doing or wearing or saying was crucial for my survival. And the thing about childhood brains is that you can't tell them opinions don't matter, but base their survival on the approval of others. Doesn't matter who the others are because the survival mechanism is the one that wins out. And so whenever there's conflict, whenever there's a situation that seems like it might be unsafe, the brain defaults to seeking approval from the other party. And so it becomes really easy to feel like you are the villain, especially when the other party is also making you out to be the villain because you're disagreeing with them, because there's conflict between you, whatever. Even if it's a simple misunderstanding and understanding and resolution isn't reached, that person creating their own narrative that you're the villain, you're the bad guy, and trying to give that to you and to the rest of the world, it becomes a default to accept that. And so if someone is, say, for example, telling lies about you or putting their, getting involved in your business when it's none of their business or what have you, and you stand up for yourself and they don't like you standing up for yourself, and that narrative of you're in the wrong just escalates to you're a mean person, you're a bad person, you're hurting other people, you're selfish, you don't care about anyone else. The default of someone raised in an abusive home like I was is to just accept that. I'm the villain. I'm the bad guy. I don't care about other people. And if you're someone who does want to do the right thing, if you're someone who does want to live with integrity and honesty and kindness towards others, you start to internalize these narratives, and you want to capitulate, you want to fawn, you want to give in to whatever their demands are, or apologize even if you didn't do anything wrong because they're perceiving that you did something wrong. And as you first start to move away from that default response of, oh my goodness, I am a bad person, it feels like you're accepting being the bad guy. And in a way, you kind of are. It's like, Okay, well, you can say whatever you want about me. I don't have to accept that narrative, which sounds like villain behavior. That sounds like classic Disney villain behavior to me. Sure, you can say what you want about me. I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. It's very difficult to distinguish when you've not been exposed to it at all the difference between someone developing a bad opinion of you because you refuse to be manipulated and someone making an accurate assessment of you being a bad person or engaging in bad behavior. It's very hard to tell the difference because you've not been exposed to that. Your entire moral compass of right and wrong was not a moral compass of right and wrong. It wasn't an internal compass. It wasn't a morality or an ethics that you developed yourself. It was entirely based on your abuser's response. If they responded well, you were doing good. If they responded badly, you were doing bad. It doesn't matter what the actions or words actually were, what effect they may or may not have had on anyone else. Your entire metric for right and wrong was their reaction. And that doesn't just go away automatically. It takes a lot of work to undo it. And even when you've moved away from them, people who have that similar personality type, even if they're not exactly abusive people, though abusive people certainly rise to the top of the category, people who want to force their opinions on you as if they are facts have a similar effect. They activate that reaction of your opinion of me is bad, so I must be wrong. And so when you have conflict with other abusive people or narcissists or just people who have not worked on themselves and don't take responsibility for their own actions, that response of, oh no, I'm a bad person because they're having a bad reaction, gets activated. And I think a lot of people, myself included, kind of get over this, work through it by just embracing it. Okay, I'm a bad person. So what? What now? And it's a weird headspace to be in to just go, all right, I'm bad, and I'm okay with it. And it's a very weird aspect of shadow work because shadow work is just fully going, all right, these are the bad parts of me. These are my bad habits. This is my trauma that I haven't worked through. These are my wounds. These are my problems that I have. These are my things that hurt people that I do. And I still love them. I accept it as part of myself and I love it. All of the bad, I still love that about myself. And it's just kind of a way of just really leaning into that, like, sure, I'm a bad person. But am I? I'm still going to keep living how I'm living because your narrative that I'm a bad person is entirely based on fill in the blank. The fact that I won't let you manipulate me, the fact that I called you out for your bad behavior, the fact that I wouldn't let you run over me, the fact that I didn't allow you to get away with whatever thing that you did. Whatever it is, that's their narrative. And you don't have to accept other people's narratives. And if you choose to accept other people's narratives, you can make it your own. Sure, I'm the villain. Powerful. Sure, I'm the villain. You can't reach me. Sure, I'm the villain. You can't convince me of your part of the story. Sure, I'm the villain, at odds with you. Whatever it is, however it works for you or makes sense for you or serves you, you can accept that and lean into it in a way that puts the power back in your lap, rather than a people-pleasing, fawning, capitulating to manipulative people energy. It's okay, sure I am. Because the thing with making someone a villain who has done nothing wrong is the intent is to try to get you to prove that you're not. And the way that you prove that you're not in these scenarios is by catering to whatever this manipulative person wants you to cater to. You apologize to them for calling them out. You apologize to them for holding them accountable. You give in to whatever it is that they want you to do. Whatever it is completely all about catering to them and capitulating to their desires, needs, wants, requests, rather than holding your own integrity and operating on your own conscience. They want you to operate based on their conscience, based on what they want you to do. And it gets to the point where it kind of invades everything. Like it's not just, oh, I'm running late. It's, I'm a bad person. I'm inconsiderate of other people's time. I don't know how to manage my own time. I'm irresponsible. I'm immature. I'm inconsiderate. Everyone's going to be mad at me because I'm a few minutes late. Kind of, it envelops your entire life and your entire perception of yourself, to the point that you take on someone else's viewpoint of yourself and your life, rather than you being the one who decides who you are and what your life is. And this isn't to say that you should, completely disregard if someone says that you hurt them or anything like that, but someone creating a narrative of who you are and what your life is for you to make themselves your victim, when the reality is that you've not done anything wrong and they were the ones who were hurting you, is a completely different scenario. And coming out of that is extremely difficult. Being able to allow yourself to be the one who decides who you are and is not waiting for someone else to give you the thumbs up. You're not developing an opinion and waiting for someone to validate you in it. You're not judging your own actions based on your own belief system and the facts of the situation and waiting for someone else to validate you in it and being like, yeah, you did the right thing. Yeah, you're good. Is extremely difficult to find that footing, especially as an adult when you've never done it before, to find that footing on your own, to be able to make character judgments about yourself on your own without waiting for someone else's approval. It's very difficult. It's even more difficult when you have similar people to your abusers giving you those same narratives, like, you made me unhappy and so that makes you a bad person. You upset me and so you're the one in the wrong. It's very hard to counter those for the first time in your life when you have no practice or experience doing it previously. And when that narrative triggers your survival mechanisms. Because as a child with a parent who gives you those narratives, your survival is dependent on accepting them. And as you just start to learn that you don't have to accept those narratives to be safe, and they're not fully grounded in you, hearing those same tropes repeated becomes a triggering thing for people whose survival has depended on the acceptance of others. And I say this, and I've kind of just repeated myself over and over again saying this through this episode, because if you're someone who is coming out of that, I want you to be able to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for seeking the acceptance of others. Forgive yourself for continuing to accept those narratives. Forgive yourself for stumbling as you try to stand up on your own 2 feet. It's okay. You'll get there. Just keep trying. Just keep plugging away at it. Because eventually you will get to the point where you can stand up on your own 2 feet and say, I know who I am. I know what my character is. I know what my motives are. And you are not going to tell me that my character or motives or person are bad because you didn't like what I said or did. Because the reason you didn't like what I said or did is because I'm not allowing you to manipulate and use me, not because I did a bad thing. And it feels for a long time like not capitulating to someone is you doing a bad thing. You're not. You do not have to be the doormat for the world. You are not created to be a doormat. You are not put on this earth to be used by selfish people who refuse to operate with kindness and integrity, who refuse to be held accountable for their own actions, who insist on making others responsible for themselves, for their lives, and for their words and actions. You are responsible only for yourself. Other people's reaction to how you live is not your responsibility. Other people's opinion of how you live is none of your business. And it's okay if it takes a long time to accept that. If it's okay if it takes a long time to embody that. It's okay if it takes a long time to live that. It's okay if you think you've gotten there and you stumble backwards and have to try again. It's a very difficult thing to learn when you've been conditioned to seek acceptance for your own safety. So one of the things that helped me a lot was to do daily affirmations of who I was. And some of them weren't really who I was yet. They were who I wanted to be. And I told myself that I was strong. I told myself that I was independent. I told myself that I didn't need other people's opinions. I didn't need other people's approval. I was in control of my own life, things like that. And whatever feels right for you, whatever traits you want to strengthen or embody or implement, you can write those down or just say them out loud or put them somewhere where you'll see them every day. And just put it in your brain consciously until you believe it. Because you can't go from being terrified of living without the approval of your abuser to just being fine overnight. It takes work, it takes practice, it takes intention. And you're worth it. You are worth every bit of that work and practice and intentionality to heal from what you went through. To get yourself to the point that someone can say, "You're a liar," and you don't hesitate. There is no, "Am I a liar? Did I lie? I didn't mean to. Did I lie?" To know within yourself who you are, because God knows abusers are fully confident that they're good people. They can lie and cheat and steal and launch smear campaigns against you and gather armies of flying monkeys to help them with their abuse against you, and tell the world that they are helpful people who care about others and they're kind and honest and sweet and loving and, quiet and demure and whatever, while being horrific, awful people who don't care about others. If they don't question themselves, why should you take their criticism? Why should you take any of their feedback? You shouldn't. Anyone who won't question themselves has no business questioning anyone else. Anyone who won't examine themselves, be honest with themselves, look themselves fully in the mirror and examine their actions. And I'm not saying that you should just be confident in who you are and never examine yourself again, never, question yourself in any way. I'm talking about allowing the opinions of people who are motivated by manipulation and taking them and internalizing them and letting that become your truth of who you are. It's okay to be the villain in their story. Because if you look at fairy tales and superhero movies and all of the great stories that are told, every villain, the villain of the story, saw the protagonist as their enemy. And they didn't see them as their enemy because they were trying to do evil and this person was trying to do good. They saw them as their enemy because they were opposing what they wanted. That's one of the things that's interesting in reading these stories or watching them. Something you don't think about, that the villain thinks they're in the right. They don't ever really examine it from that perspective. They think they're the good guy. They're justified. And people are that way too. Doesn't matter how abusive or awful someone is. They find justifications for their actions. They couldn't live with themselves otherwise. Which is why they make villains out of anyone who opposes them. Because if you're the one in the right and they're the one in the wrong, then their entire story just becomes a house of cards in a windstorm. They need to be the good guy. And for them to be the good guy, whoever is opposing them has to be the bad guy. So if you're punching holes in the plot of their story, or you're just standing up to them, you have to be the villain, because they cannot accept that they are. So I want to encourage any recovering people pleasers or people who have escaped abusive environments and are learning to write their own truth and their own narrative. Let yourself be the villain. Be honest with yourself. Examine yourself. Know who you are. And don't let other people decide who you are. Don't let other people make you question your integrity, your ability to judge reality. Don't let people gaslight you about yourself. You know yourself better than anyone else. And that is your superpower. So own it. And if someone wants to make you the villain, buy a fucking cape. Thank you for joining me again on the podcast. I hope this has been beneficial for you. It's a shorter episode than normal, but I hope that the subject matter was helpful for you. Hope you gained something from it. If you have topic suggestions for episodes, please email me at mosaicinprogress@gmail.com. We're on social media, Facebook and Instagram as Mosaic in Progress. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. Please follow us, share, like, comment, and I'll see you on the next episode as we both continue to work on our Mosaic in Progress.